What do you feel keeps you on doing that? What inspires you to continue being raw vegan? Because some people think that it's so hard, which is funny for us, you know. But what would you say? What keeps you on being raw vegan?
So what keeps me raw vegan? So that's a good question. So, I mean, maybe in the beginning it was sheer willpower, right? Mm-hmm. Because when I originally went on this diet, and actually I'll tell you the story on how I decided to go 100% raw vegan, because I wasn't always convinced. That at a point, you know, my parents were trying to talk me out of being raw vegan because I told them I was going to maybe do it, and it's like, it's so really weird because like nobody I knew really did raw vegan. I mean, especially in the 90s, like it was kind of out there. I mean, now it's a little bit more accepted, but still it's pretty weird for most people. And I remember just like, I was on this colon cleanse. It's called the Arise and Shine colon cleanse, where basically I took these herbs and actually I was just drinking water and the psyllium and bentonite shakes. It says you could eat in the book, but like I didn't read that part, so I actually didn't eat. I just basically water fasted and took the herbs and stuff. So it's kind of like a water fast cleanse. Anyways, I remember I was being in the shower and I was taking a shower, and for the first time in my life when I'm taking a shower, like my skin on my whole body, which I had dry skin condition my whole entire life. I couldn't get dates when I was actually in grade school, which probably messed me up in the head on some levels, and confidence and all these things. But my skin cleared up for the first time in my life because I went on this colon cleanse, and you know, because I was juicing already for about 6 months. And the juice man said in his cassette tapes that came with the juicers that the one thing that prematurely ages you faster than anything else is cooked foods. Don't put cooked foods in your body. And then in the Arise and Shine book, the guy says that if you're gonna go on this cleanse and spend 2 weeks and like actually it's a couple $100s to do this cleanse, you shouldn't go back to what you're doing that caused the problem in the first place, because they said that you're cleansing out all the toxins and then you're gonna be healthy. And so I saw that when my skin cleared. I'm like, wow, this stuff really works. And now this guy's saying I gotta eat raw foods. The juice man said I gotta eat the raw foods. And I was like, oh my God. I started crying. I'm like, oh my God. I started crying. I don't know if I was crying at this point because I was so happy that my skin had cleared up because, you know, of this cleansing, or I was so scared that I was gonna have to eat raw foods for the rest of my entire life. So anyways, I don't know why I was crying, but then the result of that was I just made a commitment to myself, John, you're gonna eat 100% raw, because here's the thing, it's always the carrot and the stick. You're motivated by either the carrot, which is like, you know, you're going towards something, or you're motivated by the stick of somebody beating you and whipping you and you're moving away from something, right? So I was moving towards like living healthily and away from my disease. You know, I knew that basically if I don't eat raw, I could lose my life because I could get sick again, end up in the hospital again, and at all costs, I want to avoid that. And what little sacrifice do I have to do that? Well, just give up cooked foods, processed foods, junk foods, animal foods, all these things. And so it was a big deal. You know, I pretty much just on sheer willpower, not that I recommend willpower for everybody, because unless you have a strong need, like you're gonna die if you put one cooked morsel in your mouth, like I did, or what I believed, you know, willpower is probably not going to get you through, so you need a better strategy. And I don't necessarily recommend people go all raw or no raw. I recommend doing it incrementally in stages and having a good solid foundation. But nonetheless, that's basically how I got through it. Was I 100% perfect? Absolutely not. You know, I broke up with my girlfriend many years ago, and I had like some baked potatoes, and it was really interesting stories. When I was eating the baked potatoes, they tasted so good, oh my God. But the thing is, when I would eat baked potatoes at night, like the next day I had cravings for more baked potatoes, and I even if I ate fruit, like it wouldn't satisfy my cravings, so I had to eat more baked potatoes. And then I was like, John, you can't do this, because when you eat baked potatoes, the next day when you wake up out of bed, instead of like getting up out of bed and going 100 miles an hour, you're like, all right, I'll sleep in some more, I'm gonna get up slowly, I don't feel like getting up. Like my energy level is usually really high, as you guys could tell, and it really took me down to a lower energy level, and I discovered that I didn't like that. Nonetheless, it's still hard to get off baked potatoes, and I figured out that basically if you have the cravings for baked potatoes, you don't do it for like 3, 4, 5 days, and you just like, okay, the cravings are there, I don't really need baked potatoes, and you work through them. After about 3, 4 days, you're not gonna crave them anymore, and then you're over it. But then if you eat it once again, then you're gonna have to go through the whole process again. So yeah, and then more lately, actually in my raw foods journey, I like to say I'm 99% raw, because there are some heat processed items although I don't cook anything myself, there's some heat processed items that I do include in my diet because I believe they are more beneficial to me than harmful. You know, when I got into raw foods, you know, I was taught that cooked food is poison. Like, all cooked food is poison. It doesn't matter how it's cooked or anything. It's all bad. And, you know, like, I want people to be discerning. Nothing is ever always good or always bad, right? There's always shades of gray. So I like to teach in my philosophies and my teachings, good, better, best, right? And, you know, if I'm including some cooked mushroom powders, and mushrooms technically really shouldn't be eaten raw. I've interviewed some of the top mushroom experts in the world, like Paul Stamets, about this topic, and there's things in there we can't break down. In addition, there are some toxins in mushrooms that can be quite deadly if they are not heat processed. So I do, you know, include one of the items is a heat processed mushroom powder, because mushrooms are so beneficial for us. And I'm not eating a diet out of cooked mushroom powder. I might add a tablespoon or two to my salad dressing or my soup at night for some extra flavor. Also some nutrients, and some mushroom powders, like I have used in the past, even have vitamin D in there. So I'd rather eat a mushroom powder for vitamin D instead of like, you know, a sheep skin or sheep, you know, wool supplement made out of sheep, basically oil.
Yeah, yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.